Giving him a blowjob would be considered microdosing. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get it on. Mandate, get it on. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, Darrell Hammond.
Thank you, sir.
SNL from 95 to 09?
Yeah.
Wow. That is a hell of a run, man.
That's 14 years of, full-time cast member. The last 2 years I was never on the air, but that being said, it was 14 years.
It's a long time to be in that environment.
It's a hell of a long time. I think Keenan lasted like 20 years, but to be there, it beats you down, and it's not because of cruelties or something untoward. I mean, the pressure of doing something live like that is hard.
No, I agree. And the problem, what you want out of life is people thinking something is harder than it is, not thinking it's easier than it is. And the problem with SNL, because I would have these thoughts when I was doing sketch way back in the day, Groundlings, Acme Theater. I would I'd talk to people on a Monday, like on the job site, and they go, SNL was a couple of stinkers in there or whatever. And I'd go, listen, you don't know how hard this is. And they'd go, hey, what's so hard about it? Get up there. I go, look, these bits sometimes take months to work out. And that's what you do when you do sketch. You do the same sketches each weekend.
The problem is we have days, just days, and we all have to learn characters in just days.
Yeah.
If you think of it, I saw a tribute act in Vegas. I saw a great Elvis and a great Marilyn, but they were working on those two impressions only for years.
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't the same as someone telling you you're going to be doing Geraldo, and it's Thursday.
Does the Elvis impersonator get fatter for the second act, or does he remain the same weight throughout the show?
He did young Elvis.
Because if he was really good, they'd take the intermission, he'd pack on 40 pounds.
That's right.
And come back covered with sweat.
Covered with
bloated.
Sweat and a little powder under his...
Yes, under his nose. So we've had, it's funny, but we've had a bunch of guests do Ted Koppel on this show, and I have no idea why, but it just turned out that way. Great Kinnear.
Who's done Kinnear?
Brad Williams, comedian, does a Koppel.
I've seen Kinnear. He's very good.
And Kinnear does a Koppel. You've seen his Koppel.
Yes, I've seen it. It's nice.
And I guess that's high praise coming from the Koppel King. I know you've been called that many times, the Koppel King.
Oh, yeah. Well, Koppel was... it's interesting. I had been doing Phil Donahue on my first Letterman. I did Phil Donahue, and it was just a slight switch.
From Donahue to Koppel.
It's the same voice. Donahue occurs like in the front, like, you're a blue-collar guy. You're married 20 years. It's...
Yeah.
It's front. Koppel is in... Koppel's in the back. Yeah.
Were there guys that you really looked forward to doing because you're like, oh, I've got my mind completely wrapped around this voice and this character, and then other guys were like, I don't know if I really got a handle on this guy.
Yeah. There was a bunch of guys that I really didn't have a handle on that they just... Jim Downey was the Tony Award-winning superstar over their time, and he made me...
As a writer, you mean?
Yeah, he's an incredible writer, and he wrote some Dan Rather pieces that did really well, but there was a couple of guys they had me out there because he loved it, and I knew I wasn't doing it and doing it very well, but I it was one of those ones I knew I was never really going to get it. There was a few of those.
Who were those?
Oh, God.
And by the way, I don't think the audience ever knew that. I think you felt that.
I feel like, when I look back at it, I feel like it only has to be good enough to get the laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they care about.
Right.
To transmit the joke. Okay, all right, he's got the wig on, and okay, he's Koppel.
It's also bizarre that Chevy Chase played Gerald Ford as just Chevy Chase.
Yes.
I mean, does that seem weird to the young people who are listening? Chevy Chase was 24, tall, thin, full head of hair, and spry, and he'd just come out and be like, well, I'm Gerald Ford.
Yeah.
And then he'd trip over something, fall on a desk. But it's like, it's weird that was even agreed upon. Like,
Right.
who's going to do the president of the United States? Chevy, do you do a Gerald Ford? I do a hell of a Chevy.
Yeah.
All right, well, just do that.
That's one of the most interesting things I've ever learned. It's there. I learned it there. Is that once you come out and say, this is my version, this is our version, here's how we're going to do him. You know, the audience goes, okay.
Yeah. Except for that wasn't even a version of I mean, unless I'm missing something, but I don't think Chevy Chase even attempted anything like it. There was no makeup, there was no hair, there was no prosthetics, there was no voice, there was no mannerisms. There was just, I am. It'd be like if I just walked out in sweatpants and go, I'm Abe Lincoln, 4 and everyone just would look at me, I feel like.
But wasn't that the same joke every time he fell down?
Yes, every time.
So that was the gag. So we didn't really hear him speak that much.
No, he would just walk out, maybe say something, and then throw himself over a desk.
And Aykroyd had this, I loved his Jimmy Carter.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter.
Oh, yeah, it's Jimmy Carter.
I'm here today because I need the work. Yeah, he had a great Jimmy Carter and at that time. But look, you know, when I first did Koppel, it bombed.
Oh, really?
And then Dana Carvey hosted like a month later, and he's like, so you don't do the real guy. Okay, you do a version of the guy. Mm-hmm. You do an italicized version of the guy. Mm-hmm. And it's easier to get laughs with a cartoon.
Yeah.
And we need laughs.
Right.
And you probably did something that was just like fizzy. I mean, just incredibly on a sonar. The two voices would match.
Yeah.
And they didn't laugh.
No.
Because it wasn't alive.
Well, right. So if you were just doing a dead nuts on Mike Tyson, it wouldn't be funny.
I don't know that.
If it was just Mike Tyson in a conversational tone, you need to kind of do a version of him that's made for the stage.
Yeah,
you know,
you need to enhance the childlike quality of him and the lisp, and make it a little larger.
Right.
But when you hear him like just talking like before he goes on, you know, steps in the ring and stuff like that, it's not funny.
You said you did Phil Donahue the first time you did Letterman.
Yeah.
What was the first time you did Letterman? And that people forget that was a big deal.
Oh my God.
Back then. And not only was Letterman a big deal to America and, you know, lots of viewers and all that stuff, it was a bigger deal to the comedians. Because everybody who was a comedian who you hung around with was a huge Letterman fan. So it's like the first time I did Letterman, I was nervous because Jimmy was such a massive Letterman fan that I was worried more about Jimmy than I was worried about Letterman or the 2 million people watching. I was like, this little group I come from is into Letterman so much that I'm doing this for them.
Yeah. I was terrified.
What year was it?
I mean, that's Valhalla. That's a personal pantheon to come to life. So I think SNL 90, so probably like 97.
Was your first Letterman.
Yeah.
And did you just do Phil? I mean, were you
I can't remember exactly what the setup to the joke is, but it was him. Who was he talking to? Talking to Joey Buttafuoco or something like, "You're a blue collar guy. You're married 20 years to the same woman. How many times can you eat lasagna?" That was my first network TV joke.
And were you on, like, were you doing stand-up or were you on the sofa?
Yeah, I did some jokes.
Standing up.
Right, but it wasn't until I sat down with Dave that he asked me to do Letterman, so I stepped out in front. What I remember was I was okay. I had geared myself. I was okay. I've done stand-up, a lot of jokes. I've tried out these jokes. I was okay until I walked out to the dot that you stand on as a stand-up, and I went, oh, the Beatles stood here too.
Right.
That got me.
Yeah, what got me the first time I did Letterman was all the characters that you watched in your youth and in your formative years and when you're coming up trying to do comedy, and you'd watch Letterman and you were such a fan of all the ancillary characters.
Yes.
Were there. And so Biff Henderson... Biff Henderson would he would pull the curtain and cue you to walk out. And I found myself staring at Biff Henderson because I've been watching him on TV for 13 years.
And here you are as a functionary.
And I'm like, well, yeah, what are you pulling this curtain for me, Biff? Like, you're the star of this show.
Yeah,
what am I doing here? And it was weird. It was sort of tantamount to doing stand-up and like looking down and seeing your high school principal like in the first row, and you're all of a sudden you're sort of like, oh, now I'm thinking about you and not about what I'm doing.
Two things. There was a slightly bored-looking stagehand in the back. Like he wasn't. It was slightly bored-looking, and then I noticed a little tiny bit of dust on the floor, and I was like, in Valhalla?
Right.
In heaven?
Yeah.
Someone's bored and they don't have dust. Anyway.
Yeah, the only thing that saved me is I was a sweater. My head would get sweaty. Oh. And I was like, oh, God, am I going to go out there and start sweating? Is my head going to get all sweaty? And then I realized he keeps it like a icebox in there. And I thought,
word to the
good.
wise, though, about that temperature. When it's hot in the audience, to me, it makes a difference.
Oh my! Good or bad? Like I've seen an audience.
Bad.
Yeah. Oh no! I did a Groundlings show. Were you a Groundlings guy?
No.
The Groundlings theater would get real hot, and they didn't have good air conditioning. Oh. And they would load up 100 people into the theater.
Yeah.
And the night would start off okay. But once you put 100 people in a small place, breathing the same air, about minute 45, it got real dewy in there and real sticky. Yeah. And I had my big monologue was like in the second act at the end of the show. And I just walked out there and it was super thick and moist and 100 degrees, and I had this monologue, and I just could feel this, piece of sweat coming down and it was horrible. I mean, and you can also feel the audience wilt. You feel them physically wilting. And then the worst is when you look out and you see like 3 people with their program and they're fanning themselves. And I'm like, I just want to stop
Kiss
and go, let's go home.
Yeah. Yes. Kiss of death. That's like marbles on a basketball court. You're like, no, wait.
You look out, they give everybody the little program, and the program is like 8 inches by 5 inches. It's made of like sturdy paper folded over. It is perfect. And everyone just sits there and they're going, and they're fanning themselves, and there's a wall of them because it's raked up, and you're just standing there just sweating.
Have you ever told, while you were on stage, have you ever said, hey, you guys, you've got to turn the temp down, man?
There are certain places like the Groundlings Theater and then later on Loveline Studio where the air conditioning was not sufficient to defeat whatever it was. It wouldn't do it. They could turn it all the way up to 11 and it wouldn't matter. It was just too hot.
I mean, I shouldn't say the name of the club.
Comedy Store.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. You didn't say it. I've been on stage in different clubs in the area and had to say, come on, you got the money. You can turn that down. I mean, it's too hot.
Right.
Why is it so hot?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be 70. And I base that on what you just said about Letterman, because what did he keep it there, 49, 50?
I don't know, but Letterman realized that he was going to be out there wearing a suit and tie. That's the other thing, too. People in the audience are wearing cargo shorts and a T-shirt. You know, I mean, you're up there wearing a suit, you know. And they have no idea what it's like on the front side of the lights. The back side of the lights, it's cool. The front side of the lights, you can feel them on you.
You can, yeah.
And Letterman figured out that the audience wilts, and maybe the guests do, too, you know.
He figured out they need to be a little bit alert. I mean, and listen, heat makes you sleepy, and you can't. I can't afford that deficit.
Yeah, I've heard comedians say that comedy is better in cold.
Comedy's better cold. It's better at night. It's better with booze. It's better with a lot of things.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Lorne Michaels walk out during a rehearsal of a sketch, and trying to make his point clear, why there should be less cleavage, or something like that. I think that's what that was about, as I recall. And it was his point that I stood there like just lapping it all up because I wanted to hear what he had to say. He's like, it can't be a single distraction. Nothing
you're thinking about other
they
than
can't let
comedy.
When that punchline comes down the barrel, you can't be. They don't give them stuff to think about, and they will.
How'd you get along with Lorne?
I got along great with him, but I mean, I understood him. I think I understood him pretty well. I mean, when Tracy Morgan took the show, I hit it off with him really fast. We just liked each other and sat next to each other and hung out at 30 Rock with each other. And one day he was like, I don't do Tracy, but he was like, let's go talk to Lorne Michaels, man. I'm like, all right. So we go in there. And you know, I don't remember the exact celebrities, but I want to say it's on the level of Jagger called. I've been in the outer office when Jagger called or McCartney called.
Right.
But there was I think it was Dick Cheney's office. I'm not sure, but it was one of those big DC people. And Tracy and I are sitting.
Was he in the office? Or?
Yeah, he was in the office, and he was telling them he'd call them back. And we're sitting.
Lorne's in the office, but he's calling Cheney back or something.
We're in Lorne's office. It's me and Tracy, and he puts you in these chairs where you're down low, and he's high.
Yeah.
And I noticed that first.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he'll call them back. And I remember Tracy
in front of you.
Well, Tracy's looking at me like, "Damn, you're not going to take that call now."
Right. Do you think that call was ever a real call?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know because he gave you a low chair.
I know.
Like if I gave you a low chair, I'd tell my secretary, as soon as Darrell and Tracy sit down, call me and tell me Mick Jagger's on line 3, and then I'll tell you I got to call him back. And it'll make me look even better. Yeah.
It would certainly work, and we'd just be like, because we left there. And
what was the plan that Tracy had?
Tracy wanted to get to know him.
Really?
Yeah, just wanted to connect with the big man.
Did it work?
It served the purpose of telling us, or at least putting it in our mind, that this was not a place to be fooling around, and he was not a guy to be fooled around with.
Really?
Yeah, and Tracy's that sort of street instinct that he had. When we came out of there, he said, he takes me aside, he goes, "D, can I talk to you for a second?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, he points to the office with his thumb, and he goes, "Ain't no eye rolling up in that motherfucker." Yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, sir. Aye, skipper.
Right.
And that served me so well, but I treated him like he was a general.
Yeah, there was like that bit a few months ago with Heidi Gardner and the Beavis and Butthead viral bit where she broke for like a minute and a half, and everybody loved it. But then when she did interviews, she says, "No, I was terrified I was going to get fired for that."
For breaking.
Yeah.
He hates it. Yeah, I can't remember the reason for it. Something happened somewhere along the way. He hates it when people break, and yet I broke a couple times. Amy Poehler made me break a couple times. I couldn't help it.
You remember what those were?
It was when we were doing Regis. She was doing Kelly. I couldn't. I mean, she started this thing. First of all, we would do the thing in dress rehearsal, and then when you get on the air, she puts. That's the way you do it. You mark you just basically get your camera angles down, and you don't. Dana used to tell me, don't give it all in dress. So you get on air and you get all of it from this fabulous comedian.
Right, that you didn't get the rehearsal.
Like slapping me in, come on, Regis, come on, extra these things like that. And I knew she was trying to break me. And eventually I did.
Can you break as Regis?
I did. I came up with a Regis laugh, which was the most bizarre. Like, I never even heard him laugh. It was sort of like, how'd it go? Like, that's terrific.
Yeah, you have at least the luxury of breaking as the guy you're doing, and then all you have to do is their laugh.
One time, we did a show called a sketch called "Riding My Donkey," a political talk show on donkeys, and it was Tim Meadows and Dave Keckner, I think, and Anna Gosteyer and me. And the donkeys during dress wanted to bite the men's crotches.
Live donkeys.
Live donkeys wanted to get in and bite our crotches. So we couldn't do anything, and we laughed.
Right.
The donkeys, we laughed. So not a lot. We really tried not to. And just a little. There was some snickers. Between dress and air, they drugged the donkeys so they wouldn't try to bite our reproductive glands. Mm-hmm. They were drugged. So about midway through the sketch, I don't know if you've ever seen this, the donkeys just went down. Like they're splayed.
Right.
Their legs went, and we all went down on the ground, and we died laughing. I promise you that clip has been destroyed.
Oh, you really think so?
I would think so. He doesn't like it.
Yeah. Well, I get it in the sense that I don't like it when stand-ups laugh at their own jokes. I don't know why, because they're doing a thing where they do it before they say it, and sometimes they do it after they say it. But I'm like, why are you laughing? You've said this 55 times in the last 3 months. Like, you shouldn't be cracking yourself up. I don't like when comedians crack themselves up. And then in terms of sketch, I think if it's really organic, you can't help it, and the audience always gets a kick out of it.
Like, think of who you're out there with, and the suddenness with which they come up. You see the machinery click and whir, and then they do an improv.
How much of the script, like how much of the cue cards are committed to memory, I mean, any of it, and then how much improvisation goes on?
I don't know that it's a lot of improvisation. What it is dealing with the fact that the cards may not be written until the last second. Mm-hmm. Like, you could literally go on the air and they're not done.
Right.
That happened to me when I was doing, we were doing Molly Shannon's 50-year-old stripper sketch, and it was at the Bada Bing, and I was supposed to be Tony Soprano. And I come up with a decent Tony Soprano. It was good enough to take out there. I was okay with it. I always say if I get 70% of the guy, it's good enough for the laugh. And given the time constraints of 48 hours, and you ain't practicing for 48 hours, you're practicing for 2.
Right.
Because you got a million other things to do. Right. So I thought I had something that was decent and representative. I was not ashamed of it. I got out there, and I had chocolate or pancake in my mouth. Because like 3 minutes earlier, I'd been Dan Rather. I got pancake in my mouth. And it really...
Pancake in your mouth?
When they're doing your face?
Pancake makeup in your mouth. I got it.
Right.
Because you can't put a pancake in your mouth.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah.
And the cards weren't ready. And I had to start talking, kind of remembering what I had to say. And so I started talking about the Bada Bing or something. And then they brought out the cue cards 30, 40 seconds into it, which directly contradicted what I just said. Right. And then now all of a sudden I'm still kind of holding on to it. And then Molly came out and she did something. You got to watch it if you ever get a chance. And
I'll see if we can find that sketch, because I do remember her doing the 50-year-old stripper.
Yeah, and so all of us laughed. But it was when they think, you can see the machinery, I would say, whir and click in their minds, because she could work that room but as good as anyone that has ever lived. And you could see, I'm like, oh my God. And she did it. And it's too sudden, man. And it's powerful. And there's something about the sound of well, it's 275 seats. So when they all laugh as hard as they can at the same time, it sort of sounds like 300 mason jars break, like, you know, it's hard not to get caught up in that energy when Molly Shannon's tearing it up. And I got pancake in my mouth, and I screwed up the opening monologue, and there weren't any cards. I did stuff which contradicted what we're doing now.
Yeah,
to answer your question, very little improv, but when necessary, you got to do it.
It always strikes me whenever something comes around, like when Jimmy hosts the Oscars, you know, I always think, all right, we got to get this monologue locked off a week before the Oscars, and you can really work on it and look at it.
But
even
think of the peril
almost
of
committed
that.
to memory, you know.
You know,
but what always happens, night before the Oscars at 10 p.m., I get an email that goes, "We need some Bradley Cooper jokes." I'm like, we're doing this in 13 hours.
Yes.
Like always, it can go any other way. When you do a roast, you go, look, I'm gonna get all my jokes worked out, and I'm gonna get them on 5 pieces of paper, and it's going to be 1 week before the roast, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to go over this material. I'm going to get comfortable with it. And now it's always that last day. They're still working out that last joke. You guys didn't have any choice about it on SNL.
You try to make it not a high wire act, but it is a high wire act, and and it's kind of manifest. I did a sketch with Amy Poehler. She was Hillary, I was Bill, and we had not seen the cards.
Oh, really?
We hadn't seen the cards at all, but we knew our characters well enough. But with Tony Soprano, I didn't know that. I mean, I might have 3 hours practice, 4 hours practice, as I was lucky. So,
can you give us a shot of Tony Soprano?
No, I don't remember how to do it, but I know I went into a Brando instead, and and the audience was like, "It's close enough," and we got the laughs. But I was totally doing. She said she's 50.
I think we have the sketch here.
We're Darrell's vamping for a while. I just want to hear.
Is that the beginning? Oh, yeah. Why not the beginning?
Listen up, you guys.
Oh, yeah. Why not do the part he talked
Talk
about?
about the Miami job.
All right, go back. Sorry. Yeah, start at the beginning.
That's not a bad Tony.
No, it's great.
Is it
I thought all
okay? You think
guys-
it's
I
okay?
thought the whole crew is.
Yeah, I thought the whole crew was good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, I
worked.
remember it as like a disaster.
It's crazy. Like
Oh, no. This is how, sadly, how the human mind works, or maybe it's the low self-esteem human mind.
Yeah.
Because I have done a million, Tonight shows and Jimmy Show and Letterman and whatever. And if you go out there and they go, how's the family? And you go, Sonny's doing good. My son's good. My daughter Natalia's good. You go home and you go, oh, what the fuck? You totally tripped over your son's first name. You tripped hard on that. Hard. Shit. And then you watch it that night. It was a millisecond.
Right.
It goes down in your head as a full-blown fucking catastrophic
That's
failure.
what happened with this Tony monologue. Like,
Right.
oh my god, I had a vamp,
Oh.
but then it was quick, and then you.
Right. We didn't notice it. The audience didn't notice, but it goes down in your head.
I remember thinking I
fucked
disgraced myself.
up. Right. But that's low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned low self-esteem.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt though that you're out there where the Stones play and stuff like that. I mean, in Belushi, you're like you're in that hall. I'm like, I don't know, but I would say 30-40% of the time I went home and I'm like, I disgrace myself.
Good. That's good. We need more of that in America.
Yeah.
Too many people feeling too good about themselves. This is an issue. It's a big issue. I was saying to Dr. Drew, like, when I was from 0 to age 35, I didn't even say the word no once. If you just said to me, construction foreman just went, go get under the building and start digging footings with a coffee can, I'd go, yeah, okay. Like and I'm surprised by how many young people go, I'm not doing that, and it's crazy. Like if you said, I was talking to Dr. Drew, because if I said to my son, take the garbage out, I'll give you $20, he'd go, I'm good. Right? Now, I wouldn't even known that it would be an option to not take the garbage out, $20 or not. But if you offered $10, I would have dove on it. And then I said to him, way too many people feeling way too good about themselves, not wanting to show up to work, not wanting to fucking do the work, not wanting to work for free, learn the trade, and whatever it is. And then I said to him, we did with self-esteem what we did with the food pyramid, which is we got it all wrong.
Yeah.
We got it upside down. We fucked up the food pyramid and we fucked up self-esteem. We told everyone if everyone felt really good about themselves, if every kid grew up with super high self-esteem, then we'd be living in a utopia. And it's like, no, we're living in a group of people that fire a snot rocket onto a sidewalk and don't bother rubbing it out with their foot or pick up their dog shit or show up for work at this point.
Who was the author that said most men lead lives of quiet desperation?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was Faulkner or something.
True,
But I mean, we're talking about that kind of place.
Yeah.
It's not easy sometimes. In fact, sometimes it sucks.
I did have a funny moment with my son where I talked to him. He was taking a walk. I called him. I go, what are you doing? He goes, I'm walking. I go, all right. What are you doing while you're walking? He goes, I'm listening to an Audible book. He goes, I go, what book? And he goes, the Truman Capote in Cold Blood.
Okay.
In Cold Blood. I'm listening to In Cold Blood.
And he read the books. Truman did. Okay.
Did he?
Yeah.
No.
The village of Holcomb stands at the high wheat plains of western Kansas, a local area that Kansas called out there.
Get us a page from In Cold Blood. So
High-heeled hats.
get us a page. Find the first page. So I said to my son, you're listening to In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. He goes, yeah, the audiobook. I go, who is reading the audiobook? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I can check. And then he checks, and it's some actor. And I said, when your dad does when I do my books, I read my audiobooks, but I know Truman Capote's not reading his audiobook.
I thought he did, but maybe I heard a recording of him reciting anyway. Maybe that's from a reading he did at a college.
I feel like it's an SNL sketch to have Truman Capote read In Cold Blood.
Wow. That's not a bad idea.
The village of Holcomb stands on the high wheat plains of western Kansas, a lonesome area that other Kansans called out there. Let me see. Where's the point? Okay. The local accent is barbed with a prairie twang and ranch hand nasalness, and the men, many of them, wear narrow frontier trousers, Stetsons, and high-heeled boots with pointy toes.
So I said to my son, that was dead nuts on. I said to my son, do you know what Truman Capote sounds like? And he's like, I have no idea. I said, all right, Google a video of Truman Capote being interviewed and then call me back and tell me how funny it would be if he read In Cold Blood.
Oh, God. And?
Fucking never called me back.
Oh.
I'm sure he didn't do it.
Oh.
All the parts of life that I try to pass on. His self-esteem is too high.
Huh?
His self-esteem is too high. It's like, fuck off, old man.
Too good of a dad.
I'm too good of a dad. I know. There's no way Truman Capote ever read one of his books into audio. And they probably didn't even have audio books.
That's what I'm thinking.
There has got to be a recording of him reading it. Otherwise, how did I have that in my head?
You did have it in your head.
I did have it in my head.
But maybe, tell me this, Darrell Hammond, as somebody who does voices, maybe when you read Truman Capote, you hear Truman Capote.
That's maybe.
Because you can do Truman Capote.
Well, if I had $5 bill on me, I would bet that he read it somewhere, probably at the 92nd Street Y where he used to do readings. I don't know.
Put in Truman Capote reads In Cold Blood.
And if you didn't do it, I think you should do it.
You should definitely, you should do all the Truman Capote books. All right. Reading
The
selections.
village of Holcomb stands on the high wheat plains of western Kansas, a lonesome area that other Kansans call out there.
See,
Some
hold on,
70
stop
mi-
it. Byron in the next room is duly impressed because he has no fucking idea who Truman Capote is, and he's never heard him before. He only heard Darrell's version of it and wasn't sure, but now that he's heard the actual Truman Capote,
can we
he's
hear
impressed.
Truman say the thing about pointy toes?
Well, let's just listen. We'll play it.
Has an atmosphere that is rather more far west than middle west. The local accent is barbed with a prairie twang, a ranch hand nasalness, and the men, many of them, wear narrow frontier trousers, Stetsons, and high-heeled boots with pointed toes.
There.
The land is flat,
That's it.
and the
Thank
views
you.
are all...
That's pretty good, right?
You did a dead nuts on Truman Capote.
Well, thank you.
On the spot,
Thank
dude. You
you.
probably didn't come in
No, I haven't
anticipating.
thought about that in a while, but I did love him. I did True at the Bay Street Theater on Long Island, so I got to spend about 6 months doing all things Truman Capote. To
Oh,
prepare for
really?
that. Yeah.
This is just serendipity then, because I had no idea you did that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I loved most about my career was that I got to do True.
Who does he... Let's play that again, because what
I'm
cartoon
Droopy
character...
Dog.
Droopy Dog.
He sounds like Droopy Dog
When
to
he
me.
said boots...
Oh boy.
Oh, boy.
Sounds like Droopy.
Yeah, because I wasn't hearing it until he said the word boots. And then I heard Droopy Dog in there.
High-heeled boots with pointy toes. It's the pointy toes, the pointy toes.
All right, so we'll take a break. Darrell, let's get a plug in for you.
Yes,
you have
sir.
a play called Cray.
Yes, play
coming
about
to
my
Audible?
life. Yes, it's being out in August. They recorded it in New York 5 months ago.
Oh,
off
okay.
Broadway.
It's coming to Audible Theater.
No, it was at Audible Theater. That's where we recorded it. We did 5 performances there, and I think we sent you a review from.
Yeah.
There it is.
From Culture Vulture. NYC's most surprising and compelling theatrical event has to be Darrell Hammond's Cray at Audible's Minetta Lane Theater.
Oh, I got a review here too. Darrell Hammond is Truman Capote and in Cold Blood. No, wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so it's not coming to Audible Theater.
It was recorded at Audible Theater, and an audio capture will be out in August.
All right, and where do we find that?
Where
We
they
don't-
have
Well,
these
Audible.
things.
Wherever Audible.
Wherever
All
you-
right.
yeah.
All right. Get the plug right. All right. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll do some news right after this. Well, doesn't it seem like every week there's a major leak of customer info from phone or healthcare or other companies? That's right. People are getting all your information these days. I mean, they ain't breaking into your home anymore. They're getting your info. Well, that's where Aura comes in. All-in-one online safety solution helps protect your information about you, your family, and it stops it from being sold to data brokers. Data brokers are legally required to remove your personal information if you ask, but they make it difficult and time-consuming. Aura does the work for you. Aura also helps reduce annoying robocalls, telemarketers, and junk mail by sending takedown requests on your behalf. Plus, Aura monitors for identity theft before it happens and scans the dark web for your email addresses, passwords, social security number, and other sensitive information. So protect yourself with Aura, right, Dawson?
For a limited time, Aura is offering our listeners a 14-day trial plus a free check of your data to see if your personal information has been leaked online, all for free, while you visit aura.com/trust. That's aura.com/trust to sign up for a 14-day free trial and start protecting you and your loved ones. aura.com/trust. Certain terms apply. Be sure to check the site for details.
Meet her Father's Day. Well, it's just around the corner, and I know the perfect gift he doesn't even know he needs. Meet her. Sleek, smart meat thermometer that guarantees the perfect cook every time. Grilling steaks, roasting a chicken, or smoking a brisket. He'll never undercook it or overcook dinner again. That's where Meter comes in. There's nothing worse when it's dry. Spent too much time in the oven or on the barbecue. You're trying to playing it safe, cooking pork or chicken. Well, now it's all dried up. You can use it in a grill, a smoker, oven, air fryer, rotisserie, wherever you cook. You use Meter. Monitor your food using the app, and then relax and have an Arnold Palmer maybe something a little stiffer. While Meter watches your food. You can even go in, watch the game. Keep an eye on it. Use your phone. It's a perfect gift for dad or the dad in your life. And he can up his barbecue game with Meter. Right, Dawson?
Shop now on Meter.com for Father's Day specials, including the newest products. Barbecue season is coming up. Get dad grilling and shop at MEATER.com. Celebrating 15 years of podcasting, here's a memorable moment from the Adam Carolla Show's Ace Awards archives.
Regis was really hard for me to do because Dana had done him so brilliantly, so I had to look for one little thing that Dana hadn't done, and I finally decided it was nasality. Regis had the thing where he was, Joy and I went Joy and I went down in a cave in Tijuana that was 1,000 years old. It was 1,000 years old.
Now, for some new memorable moments, let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
All right.
Well, speaking of low self-esteem, I know, Darrell, you had a panic attack doing Al Gore. You thought you were ruining it, and then you went out, you killed it. You did such a good job that Al Gore's team showed it to Al, going, "This is why people don't like you."
Yeah. Frank Rich wrote an article in the New York Times about that, but here's the funny part about it. If you compare the real guy from the debate and what I did, you can tell that one of these things is not like the other. Do you see him? Like, if you put Dana's incredible Bush Senior by the real Bush is kind of dull.
Right.
And I had done Gore, for a year at the Comedy Cellar. I'm sure I did him 300 times. And I thought it was pretty darn accurate. And once again, I was wrong to do it that way. And Jim Downey walks in and he goes, "No, syrupy, overbearing school teacher. That's what we're going to do."
Oh, really?
Well, then we started doing that, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because accurate, like we talked about with Mike Tyson earlier, is not necessarily the funniest version.
Right.
But it's sort of like if you ever go into a deli and they have all the caricatures of the famous stars in the back.
I was just going to say that.
That's what you want. You want that version of Humphrey Bogart, not an actual rendition of Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, I had Hirschfeld drawings in my dressing room and in my office to tell me what I'm going to be doing this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because they're, it's like they're more like the person than the person, right?
Right.
Kate Herpen's nose really isn't that big.
Right.
Robert Mitchum's eyes really aren't that big, but it captures them. So that's, I got that advice from Dana, and then I started looking for caricatures.
What are some bits that didn't involve you that you thought were super funny? And I'll go first.
Yeah.
I love Bill Hader's Italian talk show host. I love that Fred Armisen just says nothing and eats spaghetti and smokes the whole time. And I love that he argues with him in Italian. And I love that everything is wrong all the time.
Right.
I don't know why that bit never fails for me. It doesn't matter who the guest is. It doesn't matter what the theme is. It makes me laugh every single time.
Well, I have two. The first one is cowbell. The second one, personally, that made me laugh the most was when Horatio Sands did his Turkish talk show host.
Oh,
and I played his
that.
Turkish Ed McMahon.
Oh, let's find that one.
And Ian McKellen was on this one episode, and my mustache would come off, and during his monologue, Ian would keep putting my mustache back on. Every time it would come off, he'd reach over and put it back on. And I cracked up, yeah.
That was Turkish talk show host?
Ferey, Ferey, Muhtar, Muhtar, the Ian McKellen show.
All right, well, let's see if we can find that.
Yeah. Bill O'Reilly was the guy that I sucked at.
Oh, Bill O'Reilly's the guy you sucked at.
We did it like 3 times, too, and I just couldn't get him, but Downey loved it, man. He wanted to write about Bill O'Reilly, and
yeah,
he was sort of powering my whole life at the time. And
you just didn't feel like you got him.
No, never. But I don't even think I get, I don't think I even got him 50% of them. Like I said, I tried to get 70% of the person. I don't even think I got 50%, but Downey loved it.
Is there someone today that is in, I don't know, the political atmosphere that you just wish you could do an impression of him on the show and sink your teeth into?
I don't know. I had that sort of bizarre lifespan, playing Trump before he blew up as a politician. And
Right.
I had so many sources, and I did him. I think the best thing I did as Trump was when I did Domenio's. But if you study the cat, he's all over the place vocally. But then something weird happened when he got in front of a crowd of 30,000 people. And I don't know if you've been in front of a crowd of over 5,000 people, right?
Yeah,
and you're up,
but not doing 90 minutes.
Okay. Well, I did a 10-minute spot in Boston with Dennis Leary in front of 10,000 people. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I noticed was how much larger I was and how much louder I was and how I moved differently.
Right.
I mean, because I was talking to someone that was 300 feet from me.
Yeah, it always cracks me up because anyone who's ever done stage announcements at a big venue, which I've done a lot of over my career because it was a radio thing and concerts, and I was always doing something. And you'd be at some amphitheater and there'd be 18,000 people there. And you'd be backstage saying to whoever, like, all right, I'm going to go out there and then I'm just going to bring on Save Ferris. And I'm just going to say hi. And then you get up there and you walk out and all of a sudden you start screaming, I hear San Luis Obispo knows how to party! And everyone starts going nuts, and you're like, what happened?
What happened to
Where
me?
did this thing start screaming into this mic? And when did knows how to party? When did I start yelling that and this stuff? And then you realize, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah, when I started, they wanted me to replace Don Pardo, and they didn't want it to be an announcer. They wanted it to be Don's friend, and that was me. And so we went through the strains of there it is. We went through the strains of trying to invent a voice, and Lorne finally goes, put him out, just get him out there live with the band. That will do it. Because we were just in a studio going, what if it's like this? What if it's like that? He's like,
Right.
Put him out there with the band. And the crowd screaming.
Right. That's the simulation.
He'll find it, yeah. And eventually I came up with something decent.
All right, let's play some of this clip, by the way.
Bam! So, what is up, my bro, my sugar friend? What are people talking about?
I tell you, I go to my club, everybody's talking about this while they're going home.
What's that coming
You've been
on?
to my club, have you, Tariq?
Me come to your club? Don't give me that suck job, man.
He's great.
No. Don't jive me. You know how it was.
What is this bull?
Well, last night I go to Crashco Street with Foray. Foray gets right in, being treated like King Herald. I am outside, left holding cats. I'm holding cats. Don't you see how you make me feel like an Arab?
But come on, you know you get into my club. You get in any time you want. You just say, hey, halas, let me into my club. But this time you're all messed up. You have too much raki.
Oh, I have 2 drinks, Foray. Foray, I have 2 lucky. Come on, bro! Don't bull jive me, man. We all know you got drinking problem, man. Come on. Look at that. You got the fake stash. You can't even go to stash, man.
All right, Stash is falling completely off at this point. All right, let's do some news. We
That
got
was
some
pretty
news?
funny, right?
That was
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
So Lenny Kravitz just did an in-depth interview for The Guardian.
Was his shirt on?
I'm going to guess no, and I'm sure there's some leather being worn, though, on the bottom half. So he revealed that he's been abstaining from sex outside of marriage and how he hasn't been in a relationship for 9 years. So he has been celibate for 9 years.
Yeah, only good-looking people make that announcement. Because when fat, ugly people make that announcement, nobody cares. And or we go, yeah, of course you're not getting your dick sucked, you fat ass. But Lenny Kravitz does it. We go, oh my God, what a waste of dick.
Yeah.
It's such a waste of cock. That guy's cock could be put to use. Oh, the humanity.
Like his newest music video, he's completely naked in it.
Yeah.
So he calls this decision, quote, a spiritual thing.
But I mean, the phrase "that guy's cock could be put to good use" or something. I mean, what part of self had you say that?
I look at Lenny Kravitz cock as a commodity.
Okay.
And I look at it no differently as, how I would feel if I was working for the UN and we were delivering aid to some war-torn country, and I opened a shack, and there was a bunch of powdered milk, and it had all gone bad.
Okay.
The rats had gotten to it, and I'd see the starving kids outside, and I'd go, Jesus Christ, what a waste. Come on, the humanity. I had the same feeling about Kravitz's cock.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so it's sort of a spiritual...
Yeah, much like his journey is spiritual.
He says with missionary zeal.
Yeah, speaking of missionary.
Okay.
Yeah, what a waste.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You know what I mean? I don't know. I think Kravitz is quietly the leader in the clubhouse of biggest blowhard in the world, but nobody will say anything.
Well, in the interview, he also talked about how he saw his dad cheating on his mom.
Saw it.
Yeah, and he said he once confronted his dad after hearing him on the phone with another woman. So there's some parental issues.
9 years of celibacy. That's rigorous.
Here's my problem with I could never interview anybody because I'd be like, 9 years of celibacy, Lenny Kravitz, is amazing, but still beating off, right? Come on, Lenny.
You're still pounding it, right?
I mean, off the record.
Like, really?
When's the last time you squeezed one out?
Yeah.
And who were you thinking about?
Yeah.
Or were you looking in the mirror? Because I suspect you're thinking about yourself. I think Kravitz beats off to himself.
Well,
I think he puts the video on for American Woman, and he just rubs one out.
Really?
Yeah.
He's wearing that
pretty
tape
sure.
out.
He's that in love with himself.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think the only reason he ever covered American Woman is because he liked the way he looked playing that song.
Okay. I mean, he does look good.
Yeah. I know.
Good looking fella.
I know.
Yeah.
I
Real
know.
good looking. Let's see here.
So this video is in his spank bank.
Yeah. He's definitely beating off to himself. Listen, I'll beat off to old man show episodes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not judging. Darrell squeezes one off to an old SNL every once in a while.
There were a couple of episodes.
Yeah, you did good work, man. Yeah, there's Lenny. Because it's such a horrible, horrible song, and it was gone, and he brought it back and forced it back on me. And it's such a piece of shit song. And I was like, I'm so angry I had to hear the song the first time around, but now it was dead and gone, and then Lenny brought it back only because he liked the way he looked playing it.
Yeah.
I should say it's on mute for a reason. We don't need to hear this.
Did he have big songs?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Fly
Lenny?
Away, American Woman.
Are you going to go my way? Is that the same one? Yeah, Are You Going to Go My Way, right? Chris?
So
You don't
Tell
know
me
that
about
song?
your-
It's his
tell-
biggest song.
the Fly
A
Away
couple
was
slow
the biggest
jams
song.
too that were pretty good.
You know Are You Going to Go My Way?
I think I do.
Oh, Chris, you disappoint me. You're a music man.
I am.
Play Are You Going to Go My Way, which is basically...
Heather Graham.
Heather Graham is
Oh,
in
yeah.
this. Yeah, now you know. Yeah, it's everyone just looking at themselves. That's all this video is. There's no way. Lenny Kravitz
I
definitely
remember
beat off to
staring
this
at
video.
her when she did our show. I remember looking at her like, what is it? Why does God spend so much time on someone's hand?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
What's the mutant quality here that you can look that good? She's very nice, but you know.
I
yeah,
think that's
we know.
I think that's why ultimately we're attracted to incredibly looking women and guys with incredible calves. We're always like, why did God love you so much more than me? Why did he spend so much time on you?
Yeah, I was sitting
Where'd
next
you get those calves?
I was sitting next to Cheryl Teagues on a plane once, and I was just looking on her. I was looking on her hand, going, "What's that about?
Yeah.
Why did you spend so much time on her hand?"
Right.
Because I figure I didn't get to spend a lot of time on.
No, but you know,
But you know what I mean. He was just like,
But you have to let's take stock in Darrell Hammond for a second.
Okay.
The ability to do what you do is touched by God, and it's a much greater blessing than being good looking.
Really?
Yeah, because you're very good looking women and or men do not necessarily cash checks on it. Sometimes they get into modeling or acting or whatever, and it wears off. You know what I mean? I mean, the smoking hot chick is good till about 45, and then it starts to sort of, erode as the years go on, and at some point they don't
No
get to
longer
cash
in flower.
those checks anymore. You have made countless millions of dollars doing this thing that is 100% a gift that you work on very hard, but still a gift, because I can't do voices to save my life. I have a strong comedic voice and sensibility, and that's its own gift, but I cannot touch a voice.
And how do you do them funny? Like Eddie Murphy was the first guy I ever saw that did funny, like always funny. Like all his impressions to me were funny, and I determined that if I ever did that, I would try to do a funny impression. I never really figured out how to do it until I talked to Dana that day.
Yeah, but then there's Halle Berry, and she's managed to do okay for herself. Yeah, but I think I would rather if I had a wish for my kids, I'd rather them get the Darrell Hammond touch by God than the Cheryl Teagues touch by God.
Okay. Aw.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just say thank you?
That's good. Yeah, you don't need to.
I don't need to carry on.
Just feel good.
Thank you.
And then go back to the low self-esteem.
Yeah, let's get you back.
Because we need you to work.
I'll switch back really quick.
Yeah.
Really quick.
Mm-hmm. All right, keep going, Chris.
Speaking of music, was there a musical performance over the years at SNL that you just still think about? That blew
Tina
you away?
Turner.
Tina Turner.
Yeah.
That I still think about. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was at the time 62. The backup dancers were in their 20s, and she danced as well as them. But brother, she could bring it. She was having an experience up there. You got it?
Yeah.
I mean, she wasn't just hitting her mark and hitting her notes. She was living something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was incredible to be, because you can if you go behind the whole set and wind around through the cables and the cameras, you can work. If you're allowed to, and people trust you, you can work your way to a place where you're 20 feet from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, the first time I did Letterman, James Brown was the act, and I couldn't believe it. And he was on after me. I was like, are they nuts? Are they nuts? Man, my low self-esteem was kicking in so hard. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? And they're like, musical act always goes at the end. I'm like, that's James Brown.
But it's James
I'm
Brown.
Adam Carolla from North Hollywood High.
Yeah.
You put him out first.
And give him a little extra time if he wants.
That's right.
Yeah,
Let
roll
him
credits over me.
Let him do 5, and then put him on the sofa, and then he'll do.
I want to watch him myself.
Yeah, I'd like to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else do we got?
So 3 black men have filed a federal lawsuit against American Airlines, claiming they were racially discriminated.
Yes.
So what happened was there was a body odor complaint. This is in January, and on the flight, and so the flight attendant asked 8 passengers to leave the plane and get off, and they can further assess the situation. Turns out all 8 passengers were black guys, seated at different places. They didn't know each other, and they all had to walk out, and they were humiliated.
So she randomly ate. Now, see, I need to know stuff because there's
course.
way too many claims of racism that never really come to fruition. But if this is a plane, and most flights, what do you think? Like, most flights are predominantly white, right? Like every Southwest flight I do to Vegas, 2 black people out of 114 or something. Like it's a little light in the black department.
To New York.
Phoenix to New York. So I'm saying it's got to be 80% white or something on that plane.
4 hours, I think.
What's the flight? Does it say what the equipment is? I like when people say equipment. All right. It seemed like if you took 8 black people off that plane, that would be most all the black people on that plane. On the other hand, there are flights when you go from like Tampa to Atlanta, that's Soul Plane. You know what I mean? Like there's flights to Atlanta and stuff. There's certain places destinations that are maybe St. Louis or something like that where it is kind of Soul Planey on there. But she picked out only the 8 black guys.
Yep.
And
so now they're seeking money.
But 3 of them are.
Yeah, because they were humiliated. They found it traumatic, degrading.
Yeah.
I mean, how bad does your body odor have to be asked to leave?
Well, who drops the dime in the first place? Like the pit dime, like that guy's pitting out, man, I need some. Like there's that. I don't think I would ever stand up and complain about BO because I wouldn't know what they could do about it.
Right.
What's the conversation between the flight attendants that led to, all right, damn it, I'm going to put my foot down?
I was on a plane, the flight that I took where I learned to hate Lenny Kravitz. It's true. It's true. I know where I was when I decided I hated Lenny Kravitz. I know exactly where I was.
We all remember where we were at that moment, right?
I was on a boat, and it was my bachelor party, and we were I was on Lake Tahoe. And the flight to that, so what I discovered about hating Lenny Kravitz is we're on a boat, chartered boat. It was like Jimmy Kimmel and Jeff Ross and Cousin Sal, like the crew, you know what I mean, for my bachelor party.
Right.
And I got on the boat, and the captain had discs, CDs to play. Like, what music do you guys want to hear? And I think he popped in like the best of Lenny Kravitz or something. And I went and looked at the jacket that was in the CD jewel case for the best of Lenny Kravitz. And I counted all the pictures of Lenny Kravitz. 55 fucking pictures of Lenny Kravitz in his best of little booklet, right? And then I announced to everyone on the boat, I have Lenny Kravitz's best of jewel case booklet. How many fucking pictures of Lenny Kravitz do you think are in there? And people be like, 7? No, way off, way up. Now, other guys would have enjoyed their bachelor party. I was counting all the miniature pictures of Lenny Kravitz. But on that flight to Reno, Jimmy farted up the plane so badly that a stewardess went and pulled out a spray of Wizard and maced him with vengeance. He should sue them. Like
she sprayed it at him.
She sprayed with vengeance. You know what I mean? Like it's like she was like
with intention.
You're fucking farting this plane up. I'm not going to do an over the shoulder kind of rainbow move. No. I'm hitting you in the fuck. I'm hitting you. I'll spray you right in your nutsack. Like she went. Psh,
like it's rage.
Yeah, she maced him. She was like, knock it off.
Oh God.
She had the right. I think
humiliating.
She went into the back of the plane. They had the cabinet, where they keep the aspirin and the Band-Aids or whatever. She pulled out a thing of Wizard, man, and she maced him. She maced Jimmy.
Dang.
She sprayed it at him with vengeance. Now, I would have been outraged if I wasn't laughing so fucking hard. I was laughing. He also got attacked with air spray on a bus, on a shuttle bus as well.
Same offense?
I would always say to Jimmy, I go, you have to fart up a train so you can complete the trifecta. You know what I mean? So you can say, I've done a bus, I've done a plane, and I've done a train, but you won't do the train. I'm like, they have short ones to San Clemente. Come on. You won't listen to me.
And anybody out there who don't think I'm foul, I've done a train, a bus, and a plane.
So that's when I learned that they do carry the air freshener on the flights
for such things.
It's bound to come up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's fine. Just in case.
And yeah. So normally I'm a little dismissive about these race-based lawsuits, but if it's only black guys, you tossed.
They didn't know each other, and they're all different.
I will tell you this. If you got dreads, you've made the list of funk or possible funk perpetrators. Bald-headed guys need not apply to the funkiness. There's something about big hair that definitely helps in the funkitude department, but these guys don't really know. It's a band from the 70s.
No.
Tina Turner. Ike Turner was in for a number of months. No. It's just if you're going to get funky, if that smell, big hair will fuck you up. I've been behind a few brothers with like big dread situations. It locks in the funk.
Yeah.
All right.
I think they have to be dirty.
All right, so it's a lawsuit. I wonder how much money they want.
Unclear, but all 8 men did reboard the flight about an hour later after complaining about discrimination, and after the airline couldn't book them on a later flight. So
they got back on.
Get back on. But
they need a stinko wand like they do in security for the metal detector. We need to wand the
like
pits.
A hygiene wand.
Yeah, hygiene wand. Like we'll just put your arms out, same position. Hands out, just, go around the groin, a little ass area, a little mouth. You know what I mean? Let's see where you're at.
Or have the dogs or something.
Have the dog sniff it out. Right.
All right, pal, beat it.
All right, he's clean. Yeah. All right, so back on.
Yeah, and one guy said that he hasn't flown since because it just was too traumatizing.
Everybody, here's the whole thing about lawsuits. Damages. If there's no damages, there's no payday. So you have to say, it fucked me up so badly, I could never fly again.
Yeah, and the lawyer's going to have you in the office and he's going to know, how did that make you feel? It's like, pretty upset. No, were you really upset or pretty upset? I guess I was really upset. Like, how, give me a synonym.
Yeah.
For you know what I mean?
Yeah, destroyed.
Yeah, I was devastated.
Devastated.
I was traumatized.
When we had...
I'm not the same. Yeah.
The second season of Crank Yankers, when we had Kevin Nealon call back everyone from season 1 and say he was a lawyer representing a class action lawsuit against the producers of Crank Yankers.
Brilliant.
It was the greatest thing ever. And he'd call... I was with him, and he'd call him up and he'd go... You ever scared when the phone rings? You scared to pick up the phone? And they'd go, I don't care. I don't want to give a shit. And then they go, think about it. There's a lot of money here. And they'd go, sometimes, yeah, when the phone rings, sometimes I am scared to pick up.
Disconcerted's not going to get nothing.
By the way, this is the resting condition of humanity. The stranger calls, offers a couple of bucks, and you completely fucking cave your shit in. Just completely. I'm now scared to fly because I'm scared I'm going to be thrown off my next commercial flight in another stink-related episode. Yeah, okay. You're basically saying you're a shell of a broken human being. You're basically saying I'm the weakest person on the planet, but if I can get $25,000 for announcing I'm the weakest person, like if you hit me from behind at 1 mile an hour and my airbag doesn't go off and there's no damage to the car, I will say that my neck doesn't function anymore so I can get paid. I will say to everyone, I'm a weak, sad sack of shit, but I'll get paid a few dollars and I'll do it.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Great line from Boardwalk Empire, Steve Buscemi line where he says, sooner or later we all have to decide just how moral we're going, just how much we're going to sin and still feel good about ourselves.
Yeah.
And apparently...
Self-esteem movement. Yeah. Everyone feels good about themselves. Yeah. They don't care. Sad.
Yeah. Well, speaking of foul smells, so there's a fugitive out of Massachusetts known as the Bad Breath Rapist. I don't know if you remember him, but it was like in 2005, he kidnapped and raped a young woman at Knife Point in Quincy, Massachusetts. And then the release said that he was found guilty in 2007, but he fled. And they have not been able to find him until now. Massachusetts State Police got word that there was a fugitive in the San Francisco area.
Bad breath rapist is lose-lose.
It really is.
You want the small-dicked rapist.
Yeah, is that going to be the wanted poster?
It's a bad breath rapist.
That was the nickname he got.
He was thrown off a Southwest flight days earlier.
Brown eyes, brown hair, bad breath.
Yeah. They said they...
Have you seen this man?
it was confirmed because when they caught him, they confirmed it via DNA and his very foul breath, which I guess was reported. So he didn't fix it. So they caught him. They pulled him over. He first used a fake identity and then eventually confessed, yeah, that was me. The woman he's been living with for 15 years had no idea, of course.
Wow.
Did he have bad breath?
But when she
Too
heard
bad
about
you
the
that.
bad breath rapist, she had to be
She's like, wait a minute,
suspicious.
the guy had bad breath? Hey,
Yeah.
I know, guy.
I know a guy.
Yeah, my common-law husband has gingivitis and a wandering eye.
Come to think of it, I didn't see him this past weekend.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll work.
Yeah, they caught him 16 years on the run, so they didn't let it go.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a history teacher who is accusing a California teachers union of discrimination against him on the basis of his skin color. But this is a white history teacher.
Ah.
Yes, so he's in the Elk Grove School District, and on Friday he filed a lawsuit alleging that they formed a seat on its executive board, the Education Association, that was only available to candidates of color.
Yeah. Well, this is going to happen more and more, that white people are going to go, we got discriminated against because you said we're hiring, but we're not hiring any white people.
Right. So so they created a BIPOC at large seat. BIPOC is a Black Indigenous people of color, and for its executive board. And because he's not eligible, he's
Good.
fighting it.
Well, look, it's sad. Like, I hate the litigious nature of our society.
Yeah.
I hate it. But if it works to prevent bad behavior, then I am for it. And so when the bitches from The View try to attack some 16-year-old who was getting attacked and shot somebody or something, or the Covington Catholic school kid or something, when they're out there on national TV calling those guys white supremacists and racist, I want them to sue The View so those yentas shut their fucking mouth next time. And anyone who got fucked by COVID and wrongfully terminated, I want them to sue, because I want the government and the employers and whoever to slow their fucking roll next time they're thinking about just firing people for no reason or who wouldn't get vaccinated or whatever that is. And I feel the same about this. The only thing that's going to shut this bullshit down is people suing, and then it will stop it.
But
sadly.
what about things like gratuitous lawsuits where you sue someone saying, I wrote Shakespeare in Love, and you've got to show up in court and prove it. You can't prove it, but all you got to do is keep filing motion after motion and shutting down production until eventually, give them money.
You just want it to be over.
Oh yeah, that's how all these lawsuits, that's how patent trolls work. That's what they did to me, And every time you get sued, look, here's the deal. In California, if you fire anybody and that person is, I don't know, lesbian or black or whatever, they can just go across the street and go right to an attorney, and then they'll write you a letter, and then they'll go discrimination, and then your attorney will go, just give him $80,000 because it's not going to be worth whatever. Yeah, it's extortion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it going on. By the way,
especially like on Broadway. And in the
Americans
theater?
with Disabilities Act. Everybody owns a fucking restaurant in California has had someone walk in and said, you didn't have the grab bar next to the toilet in the men's room. And then they get a lawyer. It's a total mill. It's a cottage industry, and it is fucked
and really,
up.
most people can't afford to stay in court for very long and pay a lawyer.
No, that's what they go, look, you want to do the lawyer and pay $200,000, or you just want to settle up for 80? And then it becomes a business decision.
That's happened to you before?
I've been sued many times.
Yeah, it happened to me too. When someone said I wrote that, and $100,000 later, I bailed out. I just dropped the project.
Oy.
$100,000. That's all the money I had. I had to stop.
It's stifling. People don't realize that this environment is overregulated and has way too much red tape and paperwork and way too litigious. I mean, like, when I remember once an Uber driver picked me up and he sold private planes. That's what he sold. He sold new private planes or whatever. And he said half the cost which you pay for a private plane, whether it's $20 million or $500,000 or whatever, half is lawyer shit. Half half just goes into exposure, lawsuits, and whatever. You can imagine it's a private plane. Something goes wrong. Everyone sues. That's it. It's like half of everything is just fucking lawyers. That's all everything is. Yeah. And they will not police themselves at all. Like, I had a fucking scumbag who lived beneath me on a hill, and the mud got in his pool, and he just kept telling me, give him 10 grand, I'm a lawyer. And I was like, fuck off. And I was like, I want this guy thrown out of the bar. You're not allowed just to go extort your fucking neighbor saying you're a lawyer. And I always talk to Mark Garagos about this, and he's like, they're not do shit they're not going to throw. They don't do any of that stuff.
I remember my very savvy Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn, but he doesn't have an accent. But I remember him saying when all of this was going down, write him a check for 30 grand. They'll go away. And me, I'm like, but they didn't work on this play.
Right, yeah.
I did all the work.
Right.
No, for God's sake, they didn't work on. He's like, I'm telling you,
Just write him a check.
Just write him a check. Like, it's almost like, he said, it's almost like getting passage into outer Mongolia where there were warlords.
Right.
Pay them. You want to film over there? Pay them.
Yeah, I know. And it's happened to me. I had this bitch. She bought my house a while. I didn't live in it for like 3 years. I rented it out. Then she buys it, right? And the house is from 1923, and it's in the Hollywood Hills. And she then buys it, and then a year later, something finds a crack in the foundation. Oh. And she comes to me and says, I need, I don't know, $20,000 to fix the crack in the foundation. And I go, why are you coming to me? Why don't you come? First off, the house is from 1923. It's up in the Hollywood Hills, and it's got a crack in the foundation. Why don't you go to the guy who inspected the house before you bought it? And she goes, I think you hid the crack. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you think I crawled under the house and found the crack in the foundation?
So
and
you got to show up in court and argue
the inspectors? Yeah, so she said, we're moving forward, and I was like, go ahead. I don't know what the fuck. I don't even know what you want from me. You had a home inspector. I didn't inspect the home. I didn't live in the home for 3 years.
Did you have to hire a lawyer?
I had, at some point, the realtor and their lawyer and whoever was in some sort of arbitration court. And they're on the phone with me. And they said, the realtors agreed to give $9,000 to the person. And then they said, what do you want to give? And I said, nothing. And they said, if you don't give something, they're going to go to court with this. And I said, no, they're not. And they said, why not? And I said, what's their fucking case? What is their case? I didn't live in the house for 3 years. They had a home inspector. They sold the house. They inspected the house. They escrowed the house, and they bought the house. I hid a crack underneath the house. Good fucking luck with that. I'll see him in court. And I hung up.
Did you go to court?
No, because they don't have a case. The whole thing about cases is, if they don't have a case, they will. People go, oh, they can sue for anything. They can't. But they're going to get a lawyer, and the lawyer's going to go, tell me what happened. I go, I bought this house, and a year later, I got the inspector, and then I accuse him, and the lawyer's going to go, are you nuts?
Yeah.
How are we going to make that case? By the way, why sue the home inspector who inspects the home before you buy it? Don't sue the comedian who didn't live there, who sold you the house.
Right.
You had a home inspector. Right. He should have found the crack. Unless you have evidence of Adam Carolla crawling under the house and hiding the crack with bat insulation or something,
an audio
then
file.
it's or something. Well, I got nothing to work with.
But she legitimately thought she had a case, like most people.
No, she didn't think she had a
looking
case.
for a payout.
She legitimately thought it was going to cost $14,000 to fix the foundation, and she legitimately didn't want to pay.
Yeah,
none of these people think they have a case.
Right.
They think. Now, I don't want to. I want to get
isn't
paid.
Isn't it the case that in England, a gratuitous lawsuit, there's no such thing? You actually have to show up and prove your claim.
I think you have to pay the other attorney's fees if you lose.
Oh, okay.
Which would straighten things out
real
fucking fast. Because could you imagine if we said to her, "Yeah, all right, we'll go to court, but you got to pay all the attorney's fees if you lose this one."
Right. It'll cost
no more
Because,
case.
I don't think people know this. There are shakedown teams.
Oh, it's a fucking mill.
They are teams. And the lawyer's part is, look, I'll collect if we collect. But he doesn't charge the rest of the team for his services. He litigates for free.
All right. On that happy note,
Sorry.
let's give Darrell Hammond a plug. Now, we had his plug, but we misstated it a little. But we can leave the actual plug, the correct one, on the screen if we like. Cray is the name of the
one-man show.
One-man show.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
63 characters.
63 characters. Holy shit.
True.
All right. And Twitter, Instagram at Darrell C. Hammond as well. We'll take a quick break. We'll get back with Vinnie Tortorich, our old friend, right after this. Homes.com knows that when it comes to home shopping, it's never just about the house or condo. It's about the home. And what makes a home is more than just a house or property. It's the location. It's the neighborhood. If you have kids, it's also schools, nearby parks, transportation options, all the above. That's why Homes.com goes above and beyond to bring home shoppers the in-depth information they need to find the right home. And when I say in-depth, I'm talking about deep. That's right. Each listing features comprehensive information about the neighborhood, complete with a video guide. They also have details about local schools with test scores, state rankings, and student-to-teacher ratio. They even have an agent directory with the sales history of each agent. So when it comes to finding a home, not just a house, this is everything you need to know, all in one place. Homes.com. Homes.com. We've done your homework. O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're in the business of keeping your car on the road. They offer friendly, helpful service and the parts, knowledge, and everything else you need to maintain and repair your vehicle. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in store or online. You never have to worry if you're in a jam. They got your part. The team at O'Reilly Auto Parts can test your battery for free in or out of your car. It's nice not to have to yank that thing. If it needs to be replaced, they'll help you find the right battery for your vehicle. Need your windshield wipers replaced, brake light fixed, or quick service? They'll help you find the right parts or point you in the nearest local repair shop so you can have the pros do it. Whether you're a car aficionado or an auto novice, you'll find the employees at O'Reilly Auto Parts are knowledgeable, helpful, and all friendly. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto, do-it-yourself. And you can find out what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today, or you can give them a visit. O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam.
Bertram's back.
You're welcome, ladies.
Here's a sneak preview of the new animated show from Adam Carolla and the Daily Wire.
So what are you going to do?
They can fire me if they want. I'm going to stay home and drink my way through our liquor cabinet alphabetically. What do we have that starts with an A?
Amaretto.
Beer it is.
Subscribe now at dailywire.com and tell a friend, Mr. Bertram. Now back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Vinnie Tortorich, our old friend Vinnie, is with us. Personal trainer, fitness expert, speaker, documentarian. Good to see you, my friend.
How's it going, man? It feels like it's been forever. And I wanted to be in the studio, but I'm going to bring the show down right away because that's what I do. I'm going through chemo again, and my doctor won't let me fly.
Oh, yeah. Too many smelly black people on that plane. It's a reference to an old story. So how's your health, Vinnie?
I'm doing well. Look, they told me my chemo would be back in 5 years. They told me that in 2007. I made it 17 years. And
wait, chemo back or cancer back? Sorry.
Cancer came back after 17 years. They told me to expect 5 or 6 years of remission tops. And that's when I got serious about just staying low carb, because that whole cancer loves sugar thing. And I think I proved it, right? 17 years is a long time.
Yeah, they said it'd be 5, and you tripled that, and then some. So the new documentary, Dirty Keto, which is available now on Amazon, is really, soon as corporate America figures out there's a buck to be made with putting the word keto somewhere, then they go right back to their old ways, right?
Yeah, look, truth is stranger than fiction. I feel like I'm one of the guys that brought the word keto into existence, because when you think about it, 12 years ago when I started my podcast, I was loath to even use the word ketogenic, because I knew every doctor out there was going to go, that's ketoacidosis and he's killing people. So people like myself and Gary Taubes and Nina Teichos and all the kind of forefathers of the low carb movement, we kind of we stayed away from the word ketogenic. And then, when enough people started figuring it out and, everyone became an expert, ketogenic became keto. And right after that, industry looked around and went, wait a minute, they put their finger in their mouth, stick it up in the air and see which way the wind's blowing. And they go, wait, this is sticking around for a minute. And they started making up wacky rules. The two you might know about is net carbs. The first time I saw net carbs, I was like, wait, what? It's like, oh yeah, you just magically subtract all of the fiber from the total amount of carbohydrates. So if a product has 20 carbs in it and you have 10 grams of fiber, magically they'll subtract 10 grams of carbs.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I went shopping for tortillas, and I saw that they had keto tortillas with only 2 net carbs.
Right.
And then I looked at the back, and the carbohydrates were like 15 per tortilla, but the net carbs were only 2, and that's what they put in the big numbers on the front.
Yeah, what you realize is everything is a grift. I mean, Jesus Christ, I bought my biggest, and you'll get wound up on this one, I'm sure, but the seed oil, the sunflower oil everywhere, and how crazy ubiquitous it is. And I even saw, so we had in my house avocado oil spray. It was a thing of avocado oil, had a big picture of an avocado on it and everything, and said avocado oil. And then I turned the thing around and it said sunflower oil and avocado oil. And even my beloved Paul Newman salad dressing, his olive oil and vinegar is sunflower oil, olive oil, and fucking vinegar. And you cannot avoid it. It's like every single, I've gone online and I want hummus, but not hummus with sunflower oil in it, hummus with avocado oil. Good luck.
Right.
Good fucking luck. It's really weird. And I now realize it's in everything. Everything. And it's got to be fucking people up.
It is. As a matter of fact, I think I introduced Kate Shanahan to you and Dr. Drew at some point.
Yes.
And, because she came on my show 12 years ago for the first time. She was one of my early guests. And she started talking about seed oils. I knew nothing about them. I was like, wait a minute. I take seed oils every day for health. There's omega-3s and omega-6s. And she was like, no. The way they're getting this oil, the way they derive it, it's not doing you any good. I went off of this stuff probably in 2011 or 12 and noticed a big difference in my life after that, right? So it does cause a lot of inflammation in your system. Inflammation in your system is what causes a lot of these diseases. And yes, you're right. They're everywhere. I wish I was prepared for this. There's 2 or 3 great seed oils out there, folks. You could go online and Google it. Avocado oils that have no seed oils. And one of them may be Chosen Foods. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you can find them. You just have to scour. And the part that's kind of sad to me is I'll go to the Whole Foods in Malibu. You want to talk about the epicenter of overpriced, healthy shit for rich, dumb people, right? So Whole Foods in Malibu.
Yeah.
And I'll go in there and I'll go, I want to get some hummus. And they'll have 13 different offerings of hummus. And every one I turn around says sunflower oil. The bottom. Then I go, fuck it. I want some artichoke hearts. And I go, and every single jar is just sunflower oil. It's like the Whole Foods in Malibu, dripping in sunflower and safflower and whatever seed. It's everywhere.
Everything's
and
compromised.
I'm going to need an aisle at this point, like a kosher aisle or a nut-free zone or something like that. I need an aisle that just has seed-free products in it, because I just sit there and squint and go, what is this? Oh, sunflower. Everywhere. And even when it's advertised the other direction. And I don't think people know it at all. They think they're eating hummus and this is good for me, or it's not bad for me, or whatever it is. Now, it's all dripping with it. But I think people are starting to catch on.
Well, people like you, people who really care, are catching on. But by and large, the general public is not catching on. People still shop with their pocketbooks. Right. And as soon as they see, oh, wait, that oil is this price and this oil is literally half the cost, they'll go, well, I'm feeding a family of 3. I'm going to just get the cheaper one. It says, 100% this and that and the whole thing. And that's the crazy part. Our FDA allows these companies to lie. The olive oil industry can cut their oil up to 40%. I've been saying this on your show for 10 years. They can cut it up to 40% and still call it 100% pure olive oil. And as I tell people, think of a big company like Bertolli's, right? And think of all the grocery stores that have all of the Bertolli products around just America. There's not enough olive trees on the planet to make that much olive oil. Right? Number one, when you cut it 40% with seed oils, now it doesn't taste like olive oil, so they have to add back a perfume to trick you into thinking it's olive oil, and then they have to add a colorant so it can look like olive oil again. It is worse than you can ever imagine.
How, I'll tell you the sad part, because I was talking to Dr. Drew about this the other day. Have you all joined me in completely losing faith in the government? Just completely, and on every arena, and for everything. Like, just where you just go, oh, fuck. They're not doing any of the shit they say they're doing or we want them to do. I mean, we all got a front seat to it with COVID and all the fucking lying and all the bullshit. But now it's
the food,
like...
your kids' food.
It's such a fucking racket. And you go, oh, this guy's with the FDA and he's gonna make sure that the kids' meals at the high schools... It's like, they're all bought.
Garbage.
They're all bought and sold and paid for. It's so fucking disappointing, isn't it?
Listen, when I first started coming on your show, long before the COVID epidemic, I used to throw words out like WHO and the American ADA and AHA, the American Heart Association. I would throw these terms out, but you guys, it would just glaze over you guys. You guys are the WHO. What are you talking? You're talking about a band? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It was like, no, the WHO is not doing you any favors. Nobody was paying attention to me. Right?
Yeah.
I was just a man with a tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened and everyone went, wait, WHO. That was the first time anyone even heard that term. But if Gio wants to go back, he can find me yelling about the WHO and put together a reel of me just going, the WHO, the WHO. On your show, you guys never picked up on it because you were like, Vinny's got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Right?
Yeah,
but now we know. We know these people have been screwing us up.
Every organization, every large government-run organization is fucking compromised. If you find, Byron, you can find, I don't know, you know what you have to do? Okay, find Jim Jordan talking to Fauci about Black Lives Matter and rallies. And all you can go to 4 minutes and 10 seconds in and just watch the end. You know what everyone needs to do? And I told this to Dr. Drew. Go back and look at all the shit from 4 years ago and see it through your lens now. And then realize that you will ingest it and imbibe it in a completely different way.
Right.
You were looking at it as a sort of naive person. It was like a Fauci. The guy's fighting for good in America. Come on now. He's a sweet old man. Watch all these interviews and all this stuff in front of Congress and all this fucking... Watch it now. You feel completely different about it. And I don't know why. It's only because we're coming up on the 4-year anniversary. And it's funny because I was heading to the Burbank airport at the time, and I was screaming, this fucking guy's compromised. Watch it now. He is getting grilled by Jim Jordan, and Jim Jordan is just asking a simple question, which is, if groups are bad and you won't let people go to church or ball games, then what about Black Lives Matter rallies? Is that bad too? And he will not. You watch him now squirm and lie. Sorry, we'll find that. Go ahead.
While you're waiting for that clip, I remember, because politically I don't care. I don't talk about the right or the left. I don't talk about my political views. But I was talking to some of my liberal friends during the last election, when Donald Trump was saying, "We have this vaccine, it's coming." Every one of my liberal friends said, "There's no way in hell I will stick this thing in my body. Donald Trump is crazy. I am not doing this." Well, Donald Trump does not get elected and Biden gets elected. The same drug.
Yeah, I know.
Every one of my liberal friends said, "I got the Fauci ouchie."
Yeah, must be nice.
It's the same drug.
I know. You're just being pragmatic. All right, we have Fauci and Jordan. You have to watch it. Then we'll play at the beginning, and then we'll play the first 30 or 40 seconds, and then we'll fast forward and get to about minute 4:10. I was just watching this the other day thinking, think about what you know about Fauci now. All the emails that had to be destroyed and all the calls for Freedom of Information Act and him going back and forth with his cohorts talking about getting rid of those emails. Let's just listen to from 4 years ago.
Dr. Fauci, do protests increase the spread of the virus?
Do protests increase the spread of the virus? I think I can make a general statement.
Well, 500,000 protesters on June 6th alone.
Yeah.
I'm just asking that number of people, does it increase the spread of the virus?
Crowding together, particularly when you're not wearing a mask, contributes to the spread of the virus.
Should we limit the protesting?
I'm not sure what you mean. How do we say limit the protesting?
Should government limit the protesting?
I don't think that's relevant.
Can't you see? He's already compromised, right? It's so fucking clear. You're asked the most basic question in the world. This crowd spread COVID. Should the government limit the crowds like they do at the ballpark?
What is going in his brain right now? What is going through his mind?
What's going through his mind is I can't say anything against Black Lives Matter. I cannot. And I'm on their side.
It's like a minefield that he's
say anything.
trying to navigate around.
So go to minute 4:10, and we'll just watch how this thing finishes out with the with Fauci. By the way, Jim Jordan said you opined on everything. What Fauci did is like, what are you asking me for? I don't have any vote. All right, sorry, we'll play it. Let's see if
As a public health official, I say crowds.
Do you see the inconsistency, though, Dr. Fauci?
There's no inconsistency, Congressman.
So you're allowed to protest millions of people on one day in crowds yelling, screaming, but you try to run your business, you get arrested? And if you stood right outside of that same business and protested, you wouldn't get arrested? You don't see an inconsistency there?
I don't understand what you're asking me as a public health official to opine on who should get arrested or not. That's not my position. You could ask it as much as you
you've
want,
advocated for
and I'm
certain
not gonna
businesses.
answer it.
You've advocated for certain businesses to be shut down. I'm just asking you on your position on the protest. I haven't seen one. We've heard a lot about hair salons. I haven't seen one hairstylist who, between haircuts, goes out and attacks police or sets something on fire. But we've seen all kinds of that stuff during protests, and we know the protest actually increased the spread of the virus. You've said that.
I said crowds. I didn't say specifically. I didn't say protests do anything.
So the protests don't increase the spread of the virus?
I didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
No, I just want an answer to the question. Do the protests increase the spread of the virus?
I don't have any scientific evidence that anything. I can tell you that crowds are known, particularly when you don't have a mask, to increase the acquisition and transmission. no matter
So
what
you don't have a
crowd is.
position on whether the protest increase the spread of the virus or don't increase the spread of the virus?
I'm saying that crowds, wherever the crowds are, can give you an increased probability that there's going to be acquisition and transmission.
But do you understand Americans' concern? Protesting, particularly according to the Democrats, is just fine, but you can't go to work, you can't go to school, you can't go to church. There's limits placed on all three of those fundamental activities, First Amendment activities, but protesting is just fine.
You know, all right, he won't answer. He's compromised. Now, you idiots didn't know it 4 years ago. This podcaster it was like someone hit me on the head with a snow shovel. But as you watch it now with what you know now versus what you thought then, it's so blatant, right?
Yeah.
Is there any other way to read this than he's compromised?
If you're asking me, no. And he said something else in there that's very telling. He said, don't be in a crowd and wear a mask. But I don't know if you remember this. Early on, out of his mouth, he said, don't wear a mask. It doesn't matter. Mask won't work unless you have a medical N95, not the KN95. You need the medical, and it's got to be fitted properly and the whole thing. And as soon as he changed his position on that, I went, boy, he flip-flopped pretty quickly on that, right? And this is when they were telling you, leave your packages outside because the sun's got to kill this virus and all this stuff. And my wife was like, you got to leave that outside. I was like, really? What do you think's going to happen? It's raining right now. Our Amazon shit is getting wet.
Yeah.
You know?
Our low-carb egg noodles are getting soggy out there.
Exactly. Our seed oils are all damp now.
The Dr. Drew's in this doc, right?
I have Dr. Drew in it because Dr. Drew did. I took a piece from my first documentary, and Drew is so good.
Yeah,
he is so damn good on camera that I put Drew in this when he's talking about how much nutrition they teach him in college, and I love the way Drew does it. He goes, well, let's see, 4 years of undergrad, and then 3 years of grad, and then postgrad, and then 8 years, that's 12, and then addiction medicine, that's 15. Let's see, 15 years of medicine, zero. I got zero nutrition. And he goes, we don't have time for nutrition. We're too busy trying to save lives, right? And I love that Drew made that quote, and I was able to put it in 2 of my movies now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jim Abrams in it, too.
Yeah.
He has that story about his son.
Zucker Abrams, and Abrams had the son. Let's see if I can. He was had seizures, very violent, bad seizures.
And
I
they
think went to the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah. They wanted to do a lobotomy on like a 14-month-old kid.
Right.
Basically, they were down to, we need to do brain surgery. And Jim Abrams walked into, truth is stranger than fiction, he walks into the library and the book miraculously falls open to the ketogenic diet, which was how they treated seizures way back in the day. So he runs in, he shows this to the doctor, and the doctor goes, yeah, we don't use that anymore. We have medications now. And he's like, but the medications aren't working. Yeah, we can do surgery. You're going to operate on my 15-month-old kid. What are you doing?
Right.
So we put him on a ketogenic diet, and the kid, they kept him on it, I want to say 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. And his name was Charlie Abrams. And they took him off, and the guy is a high school teacher now. He's a golfer. He does all this stuff. Normal kid, normal guy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted to basically cut a piece of this kid's brain out. Can you? Jim has been one of my biggest proponents for years, and I've been to his home and everything. He's a great guy. He literally tears up when he talks about it.
Oh yeah,
he tears up.
Let me give it a plug. Dirty Keto is the name of the doc. It's available now on Amazon, and the podcast Fitness Confidential with Vinnie Tortorich, available wherever you listen to finer podcasts. And you can shoot Vinnie a tweet or an Instagram at Vinnie Tortorich, VinnieTortorich.com. Follow Vinnie. He's got the goods. He brings the receipts, and he's never wrong.
And keep us updated on your health too, man.
I will, and hopefully I'm supposed to come out there in July to do Mike Rowe show. Hopefully, maybe I can come in and see you guys in the studio for a couple of minutes.
Oh, that would be awesome. All right. Godspeed, my friend. Go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows because I'm going to be everywhere. And go check out Darrell Hammond's Cray. Is on Audible now. Until next time, Adam Carolla for Vinnie Tortorich, Darrell Hammond, and Chris Maximata saying mahalo.